afternoon and welcome to the Surfers Walk of Fame 2016 induction. And I have to say that, I mentioned it last night if you guys went to the Chasing El Nino premiere. Unbelievable turnout once again. Thank you for showing up, and I can't believe how many different folks we have from the South Bay, let alone Southern California surfing community. This is amazing. There's some former inductees, I see some professional surfers, I see some world-renowned photographers. This is truly amazing, so we appreciate your time to spend here in Hermosa Beach to recognize the past and current inductees. In 2013, the Surfers Walk of Fame for Hermosa Beach was born. Along the way, we recognized such world-renowned influencers of our beach culture, such as Greg Knoll, Dewey Weber, and Leroy Granis. And that's just to mention a few. There's a long list out there, and I encourage you to walk out on the pier and check it out. In 2014, the City Council tasked Parks and Rec, that's myself and a couple other folks. I swear I surf, I'm a local dude, I'm not just a politician guy. Guaranteed, trust me. To help evolve the growing recognition of Hermosa Beach's impactful culture. So along the way, we reached out to the local leadership in the surfing community. We had everybody from Chris Bredesen, John Joseph, Mike Purpose, John Baker, Henry Ford, Mike Purpose, the Levy brothers, Peter Townend, who's here in attendance, Mike Balzer, Dennis Jarvis, and we even had some contemporary professional athletes such as Dane Zahn and Alex Gray to help form a loose committee that could help shed direction on how to recognize the athletes that represent Hermosa Beach. So after hours of discussion, after hours of meeting, we made a few changes. We established categories this year as well as a criteria for the inductees. And I just want to take this moment to let everybody know here what those criteria are and what those categories are. The first criteria for being inducted is you must be 40 years of age. The next is you must be a current or former South Bay resident. Finally, you had to have contributed significantly to the sport of surfing or to South Bay surfing culture. From there, we decided to expand the recognition spectrum. We introduced a pioneer category, which is an individual who achieved fame in the surfing community before major championships or contests. We introduced the champion category, which is an individual who held titles in regional, national, or world surfing events. We introduced the South Bay Legend category, which consists of an individual who has resided in the South Bay for a minimum of 20 years. And has made substantial contributions to the South Bay surfing culture. We introduced a female legend category, which is a local woman who has collected the highest number of votes collectively from the judges panel. And finally, a cultural legend, which is an individual who has made significant impact to surfing cultures in regards to art, music, fashion, technology, equipment, literature, photography, or administration. As you guys know, surfing is very subjective. Categories are hard to, sometimes they're not popular to label folks, but as we know, you don't always have to win a contest to contribute to the world of surfing and to our knowledge of surfing globally. So it's a wide spectrum, and we want to recognize everybody who gives us the identity that we all wear today. So with that said, I just want to say thank you to everybody, and I will introduce John Joseph, local legend, inductee, and your MC for this afternoon. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Yanni, and welcome everyone today. One thing I want to add to what Lonnie said, a lot of people have asked me over the years, how do people actually get inducted? And what takes place? First of all, and this is one of the biggest things you have to realize, to be selected to go on the pier, you have to be nominated. Every year, we have, how come so-and-so is not on the pier? We haven't heard his name. Well, they haven't been nominated. So if you have someone you think is deserving, please nominate him. That's the very first criteria, because there are so many deserving individuals that deserve serious consideration. We've never received a nomination on them. So if you know of anybody that you believe is deserving, nominate them. That's number one. Then, after the nominations come in, they are sent to everyone that is on the pier, all the pioneer inductees and all the honorees. They all get one vote. The votes are then tabulated by City Hall and Lisa Nichols and a tab of people. What happens in the top 10 point getters, regardless of category, because a lot of people get nominated for 2 different categories. So your point totals carry over from category to category. Then the top 10 are selected. Then there's a discussion panel of 7 individuals, and what they do is we stick by the order of points, but we want to make sure that all the correct point totals are done. We verify those, because someone could get 20 points in a pioneer category, 10 in a champion category, whatever. So we make sure those are all correct. Then we make sure that everyone's resume is up to date. Some people have tended to embellish over the years, which is understandable, including people like myself. But anyway, so that's how that goes. And once that's done, then we have a final vote to make sure we think everything's hunky-dory. Then the top 4 vote getters will be selected and honored up here. Now, we do not have to have one from every category, but we can only have a maximum of 4. And as you notice, Yanni read off 5 categories. So every year we may only have 2 categories. There may be 2 pioneers and 2 champion surfers. But anyway, that's how it is. So if you have any concerns about why you haven't heard somebody, make sure they're nominated first, get their votes in and their applications in, and we'll take it from there. We have a long program today. I'm not going to be up here talking. This is the longest you'll hear me talk. But what I want to do is introduce and recognize all the legends that are on the pier here today. They're sitting out throughout this crowd. Anyone who's ever been inducted as a pioneer or an honorary inductee, would you please stand up? Okay, guys, I'll start over here on the left up front where I can see you first. First we have Henry Ford in the gray shirt. Next to him in the black Bowsy hat, Sonny Vardaman. Behind him in the white t-shirt with the glasses, Chris Bredesen. In front of Chris Bredesen, we have John Baker. Next to him, we have all the way from Seattle, Washington area, Northern California, Daryl Dickey. Behind Daryl in the red hat, we have John McFarland. Behind John and next to the mermaid aisle there, we have the oldest surviving member inducted on the pier, Tom Fox, 90 years old. Welcome, Tommy. What? Tom Rice, I'm sorry, Tom Rice. Holy guy, excuse me, Tom. Standing next to him in the sunglasses and sort of the greenish shirt, Pep Ike. Anyone in this first section of the seats over here left? No, okay. Then we have in the back, in the hat, the infamous Hap Jacobs, a true legend and icon, Hap. Here in the green shirt in front, we have Derek Levy. I almost hate to bring this next guy up. Standing next to Derek at the end of the row, Mike Purpose. And someone that is very influential in this whole setup here, along with Lisa Nichols sitting at the table here. Lisa does an unbelievable job putting this thing together. She's over there. She deserves a hand. And then all the enhancements you see, so much of it is due to Dennis Jarvis from Spider Surf right here. Dennis, thank you so very much. Is there anyone I omitted? Did I miss anybody? All right, well now we'll get on with the program. One other thing, we do have someone that has really helped us over the years with input. Former world champion, the first world champion ever, Peter Townend. PT, where are you? Right here in the front in the pink. Peter, thank you so much for helping us here. All right, how this will work is I will introduce the person that is introducing the inductee. They will come up, speak about the inductee. The inductee then will come up, give his thank yous and acknowledgments. Then the mayor will read his plaque that is going on the pier. A duplicate of it will be going on the pier. And then we'll go through that and the ceremony will be over. We're not going to keep you here for 2 hours. I don't see a lot of politicians here, so we're doing good today. So the first person we have coming up is Ted Robinson. And Ted, I believe, there's only 2 or 3 people that in the whole world in the history of surfing, you can say this, made an impact in both the longboard and the shortboard tour. And along with Mike Purposes on the pier, Ted Robinson is probably one of the 2 or 3 people that had successes on both tours, the longboard tour and the professional shortboard tour. And introducing Ted will be his son, Jordan Robinson. Jordan, come on up, please. Introduce your father.
Hey everybody, my name is Jordan Robinson, and today I get the privilege of introducing my dad, and it's really an honor, and it's been amazing getting to watch him evolve in the surf industry and the surfing world, and to learn about his past, and it's really a privilege to be up here and getting to brag on him. So let's begin. My dad, Ted Robinson, grew up in the South Bay. On any given day, including school days, you can find him surfing El Porto, Rosecrans, wherever the waves were breaking. When he was in junior high, he went to live with his dad in Alhambra, and he would ride the bus to Manhattan alone on the weekends with a surfboard. He had to be in the ocean. Ted started competing at the age of 12 and became a top member of the NSSA national team, along with his fellow South Bay friends Kelly Gibson, Chris Frohoff, and Nick Christensen. Ted won the Western Surfing Association Malibu Open in 1981 and the NSSA Cayucos Open in 1982. After competing in the NSSA, Ted went on to compete for 7 years on the ASP World Tour. He is one of only 16 California surfers to ever make the World Tour. In 1988, Ted became the 15th ranked men's professional surfer in the world. He was a strong competitor and at one point held the spot of the 5th ranked surfer in America. Only a handful of California surfers have ever ranked in the top 5. After he retired from the ASP World Tour, Ted began competing on the longboard tour and was extremely successful. He was crowned a PLA champion and in San Onofre in 1999. Throughout his career, Ted has won regional and international competitions in short and longboarding. Ted appeared on the covers of Surfing, Longboard, and Breakout magazine. Surfing still plays a vital role in his life today as he continues to ride waves almost every day. According to his GPS watch, he surfed 432 sessions last year and caught 7,569 waves. Yeah. You can look for him in the lineup on a shortboard, longboard, stand-up paddle, towing in, or taking photo of waves. Ted loves surfing now more than ever and continues to challenge himself as a surfer by surfing on a different board every day. And last year, surfed Switchfoot for an entire month. My dad has always been on the cutting edge of what's new in surfing. He was one of the first stand-up paddles in California and also one of the first to tow in. 20 years ago on a stormy day, he towed into Tankers, a spot outside of El Porto with his towing partner Jim O'Brien. The car stopped, the news came, and no one had ever done before. My dad is not only a champion surfer, he's a champion for the sport of surfing. He always says that the best surfer in the lineup is the one having the most fun. Whenever he sees a friend who's feeling down or out of shape, he encourages him to get back in the water, load him board, give him fans, and do whatever it takes to get the stoke back. Surfing has been a part of all aspects of my dad's life. He always has worked in the surf industry for brands like Body Glove, Rusty, O'Neill, and currently Rip Curl. My dad's love for the ocean has played a vital role in my sister and I's passion for the sport. Since day one, he's always dropped whatever he's doing to take us surfing. He's been our coach, our photographer, our filmer, and has made many sacrifices for sessions to help us experience the joy that surfing is. Although now he lives in Orange County, the South Bay will always be where my dad calls home, along with Mexico, where you find him when there's a big swell. It's a great privilege and honor to welcome up and introduce my dad, Ted Robinson.
Well, thank you, Jordan. Appreciate that. Well done. It's not easy. Anyway, I'd like to thank the entire staff and committee that made this happen. Dennis, I know that you had a big part of doing some integral things to this program. I've always appreciated it. It's been fun to watch, and now here I am, which is it's fun, it's exciting. I'm humbled, I'm honored, and it's really cool to be part of some real great royalty in this Walk of Fame here, and it's a pleasure. I'm honored, like I said, and yeah, just acknowledge some of these guys here. I looked up to a lot of these guys that JJ mentioned earlier. There's a lot to be named, but a lot of influence came from guys like Mike Purpose, Chris Barella, Mike Benavides, and the list goes on and on. And in our generation, it was my good friend Nick Christensen, my good friend Kelly Gibson, my good friend Chris Frohoff. We were the generation that were pushing each other, that we were striving to be the best we could, you know, and that's why, you know, we decided to compete and go after each other, push each other, and just be really competitive. So I'd like to thank those guys for being really competitive back then. We pushed each other, and we did a lot of stuff together, had some great times. So thanks to them. Earlier, Henry was mentioned, and I did have a longboard career after my shortboard career. I have to thank Henry Ford over here at Snack Bar. He turned me on to a longboard. He said, "Ted, I'll give you a brand new LSP longboard, which is a Jeff Tramer model, and just trade me in one of your shortboards." That actually started my career in longboarding. It was in the summer, and it was 1 foot like it is today. And I went out and had a bunch of fun on a longboard, and I knew how to compete, so I translated my competition skills onto longboarding, and I got to travel all over the world for another 5 years and extend my career, so that was fun. Other than that, you know, a little bit about me. You know, Jordan said I still surf every single day. I'm a frother. I'm probably the frothiest surfer I know. I enjoy surfing. I enjoy being in the ocean, whether it's shortboard, longboard, stand-up, water photography, tow-ins, step-offs. Being in the water is really, really important to me every single day. I think it keeps me young, and I couldn't imagine life without surfing. It's been a blessing, and you know, I love it. I just can't get enough of it. And my watch, this watch tells me how much I'm a frother. This is the Rip Curl GPS watch, and it drives me even more. I don't need the motivation, but this drives me to catch more waves and go faster. And maybe it's you know, maybe it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's super fun. I've been doing it for the last 2 years, and having stats on your waves is pretty fun. Other than that, let's see, I'd like to thank my family, my dad and whole family, my wife, my daughter, my son, the extended family. They're all here. They've been really supportive of me over the years. They've been great. Even when we were competing in the 80s and we were trying to make, Chris, Kelly, Nick, and I were trying to make a living off of this. There wasn't much money back then. There really wasn't much of a career to be had, but my parents and my family supported our dreams, my dreams, and you know, they were there for me. It was really important to me that they were so supportive of me chasing a life of professional surfing. And you know, I'd like to thank my family and everyone else again that is here, that showed up. Daryl Dickey, he flew down here from basically almost Oregon, which is really impressive. I got so many friends in the so many friends in this crowd, and I'm just honored to be a part of this group. And I'd just like to say thank you, everybody, for showing up. And you know, I live in South Bay. I lived in South Bay my whole life. I'm in Orange County right now because of work, but the South Bay is always home. I love coming back. I love seeing the community. It's a very tight-knit community, and I love being here, being a part of it. And when the waves are here, I'll be here too. So again, thank you everybody for you know, letting this happen, be a part of it, and thank you very much.
Next on the program, our mayor from the city of Hermosa Beach, the original Surf City, Mayor Hani Faguri. He will present the plaque and read what is going on the pier on the plaque. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, JJ. I am honored on behalf of the city of Hermosa Beach to present this award to you, Ted. So there's some information here I'm going to read, and I hope we got it all right. So this is a Surfers Hall of Fame Championship Award. Ted Robinson is a truly gifted surfer and an outstanding competitor. having competed and placed in both national and world surfing contests. Ted's enthusiasm for surfing has led to a lifelong career in the sport. In the 1980s, Ted was a top member of the National Scholastic Surf National Team, and he competed for 7 years on the World WCT Tour. Ted was a dominating force in the PSAA circuit, holding the spot of the 5th-ranked surfer in America. In 1988, Ted became the 15th-ranked men's professional in the world. He began surfing and competing in numerous shortboard and longboard tours during the 1990s. Ted was awarded first place in various regional and international competitions throughout his career. Surfing still plays a vital role in Ted's life as he continues to ride waves every day, both as an employee of Rip Curl and as an award-winning surf photographer. And I'm proud to present you with this award. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Ted. So very deserving. And Mr. Mayor, our next inductee will be Kelly Gibson. Kelly, back in the day of the early years of professional surfing, the real tour, today we have 44, top 44 compete. There are only 16 surfers that were rated for every tournament. We have 3 of them here today. We have Ted Robinson, Chris Frohoff, and Kelly Gibson. Unbelievable. 3 of them out of the top 16 in the world. And our second one up here, along with Ted, is Kelly Gibson, to be introduced by Pat Murphy. Pat, come on up.
Good afternoon, everybody. Like JJ said, I'm here to introduce this year's Surf Legend Award to Kelly Gibson. On a personal level, this is pretty cool for me. I grew up here in the South Bay and was able to be a surf fan of professionals like Kelly in the mid-'80s. And modern day times, I've been able to kind of ride Kelly's coattails and develop a career out of that in the surf industry. But anyways, Kelly is a native of the South Bay. He was born and raised here. He attended Miracosta High School. He grew up surfing Neptune or First Street, looking up to his idols of the day, such as Mike Purpose, Mike Benavides, Chris Barella, the Levy brothers, and many, many more, not to leave anyone out. Kelly also competed on the NSSA Amateur Tour. And in 1982, he reached a height there, winning the National Men's Open title in a class of amazing surfers such as Tom Curran, Ted, Nick Christensen, and many more. Chris Frohoff as well. By 1984, Kelly's amateur surf career was over and he went on to the ASP World Tour, competing internationally for multiple years against the best surfers on the planet. It's a very awesome thing to be able to do. In those mid-'80s, the tour had a break in January and February. I was learning how to surf myself down in El Porto, and I remember waiting each year for these international surfers to come back into town, and I get a chance to be a fan and watch them surf. At one time, the South Bay had Kelly, Ted, Nick Christensen, and Chris Frohoff all on this elite tour. So that was very special, being a grommet here and getting a chance to see these guys when they come back into town. By the early 1990s, Kelly decided to start a family with his wife, Linda, and he also took his first sales job with a local company here, Body Glove, in the Maestro family. Kelly was then a sales rep, going up and down the coast selling surfing products and starting his family. I was actually finishing college at that time and working in a surf shop, and I was lucky enough to land a job as his assistant. And that's how I became working in the surf world and have been following Kelly around ever since. In the late 1990s, Kelly went on from being a sales rep to a management position at O'Neill Sportswear. By the early 2000s, he grew the sales at O'Neill to levels the company had never seen before, and he eventually became the CEO of O'Neill then. Fast forward to 2006, the owners of Rip Curl saw his talents as a businessman and not just a surfer, and they hired him to be the president of Rip Curl North America. And he did it again there. He's grown this company to sales they've never seen in the North American region. He's still president of the company. He also holds a position on the international board for Rip Curl. And additionally, he is currently the president of SEMA, which is the Surf Industry Manufacturers Association. This organization provides guidance to the entire surf industry. So it's pretty special, some of the accolades Kelly's been able to gain here in the surf world. For me, his path as a South Bay grommet into a surf industry leader is really amazing. He's been able to transcend the passion of sport, of surfing, into his lifestyle. Today, Kelly lives down in Laguna Beach with his family. On any given swell, you'll still find him out at places like Salt Creek or Trestles or wherever the waves are good. So everyone, please join me and welcome this year's Legend inductee, Kelly Gibson.
Hi, everybody. Like the sun's coming out here a little bit, it's warming up, so just happy to be here, you know. Really just wanted to start with saying, you know, thank you to Hermosa Beach, the city, and also everybody that's on the board for the Walk of Fame. I think it's pretty neat, it's pretty unique actually to have something like this. It's only in a few cities, across the beaches have this. I think it's Huntington Beach, Santa Cruz, and Hermosa. And you know, Hermosa is just, you know, super special, obviously to everybody here, but for me, I grew up, you know, my family, we grew up on the beach. Neptune, 4th Street, my parents played volleyball, my sister Bridget and Kevin, my brother's here, and we just grew up on the beach. I mean, we didn't know any better before we surfed. We were thrown out on the beach every day, and no towels, just kind of got, you know, tan and had the sand warm us up, and just learned how to, before bodyboards, just really body surf, rafts, if everybody can remember a raft before the bodyboard came around. Yeah. So I started surfing because my brother, and he started surfing about 6 months before me, and I go, well, all right, I got to do this. And my dad, a surfer forever, but he actually was working so much that he had a board in the garage, but he wasn't surfing. So once my brother started surfing, my dad started surfing. So I go, well, I got to do this as well. So I was about 6 months behind him starting to surf. We moved probably around 1975, 76 down here to 4th Street in Hermosa, right on the strand there, and that was it from there. We just surfed every day, and that's just got the love of surfing right then. I remember really just, you know, taking my skateboard, coming up on the Hermosa Pier almost every day, so it's pretty surreal to be here today. You know, there wasn't the promenade. You could actually drive a car down here back then, but would skateboard to the pier and see the likes of, you know, Purpose and the crew here. Remember just being starstruck at a young age, going, hey, I want to do that. That looks pretty cool. Obviously, Redondo Breakwater was, you know, just down the road from that, so that was the beginning of it right there. Then went into middle school, Hermosa Valley Middle School, met Billy Foltz, who I saw last night, and Chris Frohoff. We kind of became the trio in middle school, and all we did was surf. I mean, I look back on it and go, and I don't know how, no one told us to do this, but we surfed every morning and every afternoon, everything we could. And then, so those were great times. We had a surf contest down here at Hermosa Pier. We actually engineered to surf against Center School, which is the Manhattan school. So I don't know how we did that, but Fro will probably remember that in Foltz. It was a pretty good time. So a lot of this is I've just been reflecting on, you know, this area here, and they're pretty cool time. So then, going into Costa, I went to Maricosta High School. Yay! And yeah, that's where I met my beautiful wife Linda in 9th grade over there. She's right over there. So it's been a long time. So I'll get to that with the family there, brother. And then also I met Ted. So I'm like, okay, so I met Ted at 9th grade. He was probably maybe a year ahead of me. And I remember he had a car. I didn't have a car. So we went surfing one day, and it's a classic story, but you know, I got to tell it. And so we surfed and went to Best Donuts, grabbed a donut. We drove all the way up to Costa, and we're getting out of the car, and he goes, yeah, I don't think so. I'm like, what? So I went into class, and Ted went back surfing. So that was the beginning of our relationship. So obviously with Ted and with Fro, and we just had a lot of good times in high school surfing. And again, same deal. Wake up at the crack. It's dark outside.
drying our wetsuits and some of the laundry masks to make sure they were warm enough to put on. But we surfed every morning and every afternoon, and then we started getting into competition. So we surfed the local contests, the WSAs, the ASAs, and then PTs here. Give a shout out to PT, the NSSA. All of a sudden, we didn't know what this was, you know, and so we went down to Del Mar, I believe, is the first time we went down there. We're going, okay, this is kind of a little bit more organized. You know, what's going on here? And so all of us made Fro and Ted made the team the year before I made it. So I really, you know, tough love is actually good. It's, you know, in this day and age, everybody gets whatever they really need. But I didn't make it the first year, and that's all I wanted to do. As Ted was talking about competition, is I wanted to you know, work as hard as I could to try to be able to achieve that as well. So after high school, it's pretty interesting. You know, we're starstruck around here in town, of course, and then we started going to Hawaii with the NSSA and pushed out in ways we probably weren't comfortable with, but really being with the peers, it really helped us to be able to not say, you know, no. I mean, we went out because everybody else was going out as well. So those were some good times in high school. And then we started doing the tour, which was different than it is today. Fro went out on tour 1 year before Ted and I. And so we'd be hearing about all the stories when we was coming back, and then we'd travel together and go all over the place. I remember the first place I went was it's like 19 in Japan, of all places, was the first spot I went to, and I was homesick. I remember I was like, no one spoke any English, and for whatever reason I was with a different company than these guys were at. And I was going back with the guy couldn't speak English, and I was like, if this is what this is all about, I'm not in. But lucky that was the only tough time. But we'd go to Japan, South Africa, Australia a couple times a year, and Hawaii was always the big deal. We would spend about 2 months a year, the crew of us, and with other friends, Rob Dorr, Steve Machin, and we'd stay at Dorr's house over there, and those were just great. A lot of memories stick out for me as being in Hawaii all those years. I still love going to Hawaii every year, but we'd really push ourselves to levels that, and we wouldn't do it, I don't believe, if the other guys weren't going out. So once everybody would go out, we were out there as well. And I remember one time that we showed up at Sunset Beach, and with big swells, there's big lulls, and it didn't look that big. And BT was on the beach, and Ted and Fro and I went down, and we put our leashes on. The closeout set came in, and we went, well, we can't go back to the car. So we tried it. So those were the days, that's for sure. So then you know, then I turned into, you know, late 80s. You know, I went to, similar with Ted, I left the tour earlier, did the US tour, and then decided to get married to my wife and have children. And then all of a sudden, real quick, I remember it, surfing went from first to third. People can experience that, but family first, work, and it was work, not a career, and surfing. I still love to surf and kept surfing, but it was really important to me. So I just want to say a shout out to all the family here today, especially my wife Linda, my kids Hannah, Ian, and Ariel, and their twins. And obviously my sister's family's here and my brother's family's here as well. So back to the job, my mom and dad started a company called VA Surf Stuff at the same time I was surfing, and it started getting a bit of traction and stuff. So I asked if I could get a job. I need to pay the bills there. So it was really a good learning experience for me. We did the trade shows, and I did everything from, you know, going to buy the t-shirts, go to the t-shirt printer. I would then bring the t-shirts back, I'd pack the boxes, I'd wait for the UPS guy to show up, and then I'd be able to leave and go surfing again. So that was really, in hindsight, really a big learning experience for me through that period of time. And unfortunately, my dad passed away last year, and my mom a few years before that, so they're clearly very missed by all of us. After that business, it was the big recession in probably the early 90s, and that business didn't survive. Fortunate enough, after writing for Body Glove, being the first paycheck I ever got, I remember Ted and I were there together, and we got the blue Body Glove van and drove it down to San Diego, just going, yes, getting a paycheck from Body Glove. So thank you to the Maestro family for that. It was really a good kickstart. And then come full circle back, I started working for Body Glove as a sales rep in 1992. And At the same time, my second daughter was coming around, and we needed to get just a little bit more security, so I started working for Delta Airlines at the same time, so doing the swing shift, kind of grinding it out. And it was a couple of big eye-openers, but that to me is, I remember going to some trade shows, and some of the other guys are just trying to get out of everything, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, the surf industry is pretty good. You know, working over at throwing luggage and making sure that you have to stay all the way to the bitter end. So I made the best of it there. And then obviously Pat spoke about you know, where my career's gone from there, and I enjoy it. It's great to be around still surfers every day, getting to see the other side of the coin with all the other athletes that are out there. It has changed dramatically, but at the same time, it's still pure. At the end of the day, all these guys do it because they love to surf. They're not doing it because they're getting paid. It's the love of surfing, and that's in me. You know, that's my daydream, is to be able to get surfing to number 2 again, right? From that's my goal, and then also really. You know, giving back. I just think that this is great. I think there's a lot of volunteers here, and I just want to say thank you to that. I'm starting to do that in my career as well, and I think everybody can make a difference by continuing to do their part to give back to what's been was given you so much, and that's what surfing's given me so much, and so I'm just very grateful for that. So thanks everybody, and have a great day.
Mr. Mayor will be presenting the plaque to Kelly. Kelly, thank you.
Again, I'm honored to be able to present this plaque on behalf of the city of Hermosa Beach to Kelly, as the South Bay legend. And first, and this thing requires a hand, Kelly was born in Hermosa Beach. So. He's a South Bay resident for almost 4 decades. Kelly Gibson has made substantial contributions to the sport of surfing. Kelly was the NSSA National Amateur Surfing Champion in 1982 and went on to serve as a professional on the WCT Tour, ranking 41st, and the PSAA Tour, ranking 16th. In 1992, Kelly turned his passion for surfing into a successful career, starting as a sales representative at Body Glove and then as CEO of Rip Curly in 2006. Kelly gives back to the surfing community by serving as the Surf Industry Manufacturers Association president. Kelly's love for the ocean that began in Hermosa Beach continues through today. So again, congratulations. I'm very proud to be presenting with this award. Thank you. And also presenting you with a pin from the city of Hermosa Beach. You can wear it with your surf clothes.
A little housekeeping real quick. First of all, when the ceremony is over, if you get a chance, try to walk out on the pier. You'll see the plaques of all the individuals who've been inducted as a pioneer or an honorary member of the Hermosa Beach Surfing Walk of Fame. They're out about, I don't know, 50 yards or so as you get onto the pier. Secondly, if you have another opportunity, get up to the Old Pier Avenue School for the Historical Society Surf Museum that's open today. It's a great look at what has transpired in this city and why we were the original surf city. And lastly, anyone who's ever been inducted that is here and the current inductees, when we're done with this, we need you to congregate at the Tim Kelly statue at the base of the pier. So if you're a former inductee or an inductee today, we need you to congregate as soon as we're over for some photos. Thank you very much. Our next inductee is Charles Chip Post, former mayor of Hermosa Beach. Also, most of you don't know this, but he was one of the really big wave pioneers on the North Shore. I've seen photos of him, that was before my time, which means that was a long time ago. Really some of the biggest waves on those old style longboards ever ridden at Waimea Bay. They're just amazing. You'll see one in the Easy Reader and some online. But introducing him today is someone I'm very proud to say I went into the class of 2004 with, Sonny Vardaman. Sonny, come on up, please.
Thank Thank you, John. I've known Chip for over 70 years, so I'm going to take this back a few years. We grew up together along with our surf buddies, body surfing, riding our custom belly boards, and then it was on to canvas surf mats right out here by the pier. The canvas surf mats were great fun. We'd paddle them in the summer surf festival, and then on bigger days, the lifeguards let us run out on the pier, throw them over the side, and jump in after them and ride in. It was a great thrill for a bunch of 10-year-olds. Chip first started surfing in 1949 at age 11. He was borrowing boards from members of the Hermosa Surf Club or some of the lifeguards right here on the pier. He eventually, one of the older surfers gave him his own plywood pintail, and his buddies helped him take it home. He surfed it at 17th Street in front of his house, and it was an older board, and it was difficult to ride. It took on a lot of water, and the water inside would slosh from one side to the other. It was really difficult to ride. We'd drag it up the beach with Chip, tip it up, pull the plug in the nose, and drain the water out, and out it would go again. Chip's first balsa wood board was made of raft wood from old World War II life rafts. The blocks were glued up by Doug Craig, his neighbor, and Chip took it to Bob Simmons to shape, and Chip glassed it himself. From then, we went on to newer balsa wood boards with better quality balsa, shaped by Dale Velzy and some by Joe Quigg. And at that time, we formed a surf club with Chip and his buddies called the Hermosa Surfing Seals. And we were all too young to drive, so we'd have to hop rides to the Cove or Malibu. One day the Cove was really good, and only a couple of us got rides, and Chip decided to paddle to the Cove from 17th Street. Surfed a while and got very cold in the 56-degree water. This was before wetsuits. He paddled ashore, stood by the bonfire with the rest of the surfers, and fortunately got a ride home. 1956, he entered the second annual Catalina to Manhattan Beach paddleboard race, and he did the time in the 32-mile course in a respectable time. And then that winter, he was off to the North Shore to take on the big waves. He surfed alongside Buzzy Trent, George Downey, and Peter Cole, confidently surfing 20-foot waves. He returned. That summer, he passed the Los Angeles County lifeguard test and lifeguarded the beaches here in Hermosa Beach, and paddled in the lifeguard taplin races on some of the winning teams, and continued to surf up and down the coast. Graduated from college, attended law school at UCLA, and passed the bar. Along the way, he was a city councilman, mayor, and eventually the city attorney of Hermosa Beach. He continues to surf today with recent trips to El Salvador and Costa Rica with his son Chip. And congratulations, Chip Post, on being honored today as a pioneer surfer. Thank you.
Famous people have stumbled on their way up to the stage. Thank you very much, Sonny. I think it was an August day in 1950 that I was hanging out with a bunch of other surf rats at 17th Street, and I remember saying, "This is the day." And after some discussion about whether it really was the day, Charlie Davis and I walked up to 24th Street, and there between the houses was a 12-foot fishtail, which I think was leaning up against Hap Jacobs' parents' house. And we took the board, and it took two of us to get us down to the water. we pushed it out in the water backwards because it was too big and unwieldy for us to handle. And in the middle of the waves, we stood next to it and pushed it into the waves and got our first waves. That was 66 years ago. At that time, surfers were only a small fragment of the counterculture of the 1930s. They were, okay, they were Jack Kerouac, Woody Guthrie types, early hot rodders. It was the era of the 120-pound redwood plank. It was long before surfing became a commercial bonanza and a popular cultural phenomenon. Then you didn't, as a surfer at that time, you didn't need much equipment. About all you needed was some kind of a board, a pair of trunks, and a bar of wax. And for those of us who rode hollow boards, you needed a cork. And you got those just, scrounging around the liquor stores getting old corks out of wine bottles and things. That was important because we rode, those of us who rode hollow boards, it was plywood over a wooden frame attached by screws and glue and then painted and varnished. And as those boards flexed in the, Sonny made reference to this, as those boards flexed in the water, it would slowly fill with water. So when you started paddling for a wave and the tail was lifted up, the water would rush to the nose. And the board I have in mind, I'm thinking of was 8 foot 7 inches long. It weighed 87 pounds, and so did I. So try as I might to jump up and down on the back of the board, it kept going. And the end result was you'd fall, you'd have to swim in, you'd have to drag the board up on the beach, literally, muscle it up to a vertical position, pull the cork out and drain the water. I've always been attracted to surfing for as long as I can remember, and much of it remains a wonderful mystery, the last thing I would like to mention. And I remember sometime about half a dozen years ago, I was going surfing and I found that I was as excited as I remember being as a teenager. And I thought, I wonder what that is. And I became kind of curious about figuring that out, and it came to me that somebody once said fragments of memory that remain vivid in your mind are important to you, and they're worth thinking about. And I recalled a time at Rincon in the early 50s where I caught 3 waves in a row. And I had, at the end of this third wave, I had the feeling that these waves were coming to me individually, personally. It was a strange sort of feeling. And I felt connected to them. And that was the best I could come up with in describing it. The feeling went away, but the memory stuck. So as I was reflecting on why I was still excited about surfing, the last few lines of the movie, Islands in the Stream, came to me. It's another thing that I somehow remembered. It was an adaptation of a Hemingway novel, Islands in the Stream, and toward the end, very end actually, the lead person had done some heroic act on their boat, and in the process had been shot. And as they lay on the deck in the arms of their faithful deckhand, you heard this voice that said, I was learning fast there at the end, and I learned that there is not one truth, it's all true. And I thought, it's all true, and somehow it came over me. That's it. That's the feeling I had back at Rincon all those years ago. It's all true. Well, what does that mean? I don't know. It's only a feeling. It's all true? Really? Yes, really. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Chip Post. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Honored to present this award to Councilor and Mayor Chip Post. as a pioneer from the Surfers Walk of Fame. So Charles Chip Post, a Hermosa Beach native, helped form the group known as the Surfer Seals, along with other 17th Street locals at the age of 12. At a time where surfing contests were rare, Chip built a strong reputation with his peers. One of his accomplishments was earning acceptance into Hawaii's pioneering North Shore surfing community in the mid-50s, when surfing there was considered a high-risk proposition. Chip spent many summers working as a Long Beach County lifeguard, competing as a swimmer, paddler, and doryman. In 1967, Chip was a member of the league title-winning UCLA surf team. Chip's commitment and concern for the community was demonstrated by his service on the Hermosa Beach City Council and as the city attorney in the 1970s and 80s. Chip also served as a member of the board of directors of the Surfrider Foundation and the National Association of Surfing Attorneys in the 1990s. So congratulations again. I had no idea there was a National Association of Surfing Attorneys. It sounds very exciting. And I'm going to give you this award, and I give you a pin of the city from Hermosa Beach, but I have a feeling you have a few of those already, but a new one doesn't hurt. Congratulations.
A couple politicians. It's with great pleasure I get to introduce this last but not the least inductee, John Leninger. John and I go back almost 60 years. Before we get started, there's a couple notables he wants me to introduce. First of all, a good surfer in his own right, his brother Jerry and his wife Jeannie, who've been married since high school. Jerry, where are you guys? Right here. And then two people who've been pretty much inseparable since my sister introduced them in 1960, John and his wife Karen, former Karen Broden. We all know how much John has mentored people throughout the surfing community. However, I have a story on how he mentored me. When I was 13 years old, and unlike Mr. Gibson over here, who got a job at Body Glove, the first paycheck I ever got was at May Company washing dishes. And the person that was in charge of me at 14 was John Leninger. And how did he mentor me? He taught me it was time to get an education. So John, I want to thank you for that. Now John goes back a long way as far as organizing and getting good people around him. Back in 1961, John and a few people from Sapphire Street like Bobby Moore, Coley Ragland, Richie Johnson formed a surf club called Bay Area Surf Club. At the time, the two of the biggest clubs on the coast were the old Double Deuce Danglers from 22nd Street and the Haggerty Surfing Association. We were just a bunch of young kids, but John had the knack of attracting most of the top under 18 surfers from the South Bay. People like Purpose and Drew and Baker and Elfloss from Hermosa Pier. We had the Manhattan guys like Daryl Dickey, John Wall, and those people. And what was really, which was really gratifying, because we looked up to the Haggertys and the Double Deuce Danglers. In 1962, in the first major club contest on the West Coast, there were some scores. Bay Area Surf Club, 49. Malibu Surfing Association, second with 28 points, and somewhere down on the list with 12 was Haggerty Surf Club. And so, John, I want to thank you for that. We knew we had grown up by that time. John's actually first job, and again, he mentored me, his first job in the industry back in 1962 was at Skaggs Surfboards, right there on the corner of First Street and Hermosa Avenue. And about a year into that, then he hired me also as a shop salesman there. And what was unique about that place was right across the street on the opposite corner of First Street and Hermosa Avenue, Richard Safferty and John Leninger rented a one-bedroom apartment. And it's where most of the local surfers from 1st and 2nd Street gathered every morning for breakfast, because Safferty, Richard Safferty, we all know him, a local icon here in the South Bay, worked in the cafeteria at May Company. And he would bring home literally 4 or 5 pounds of leftover French fries. And that was our morning breakfast steak every morning. Ketchup, mustard, and French fries. We want to thank Safferty for providing us the energy back then. Richard? John's ability to organize Skag surfboards in the first surf shop challenge here in the South Bay in the 60s. We were across the street from the breakwater, and John noticed 3 real young goofy foots that were just ripping up the summer surf. So the team that he put together consisted of a 14-year-old David Nueva, a 15-year-old Tommy Padaka, and a 17-year-old John T, along with a regular foot, myself. That most of the shops, Greg, Haps, all of those type of people had teams entered in the contest. That team won that surf team challenge. Before I entered the water in the last heat of the day, we'd already won it with those 3 young goofy footers. And again, that's how John learned to organize, recognize talent. And it's one of the reasons he was able to sell over 40,000 surfboards in his career to most of the top surfers at one time or another in the South Bay. John proceeded from there in 1964 to the South Bay Surf Shop, located on the avenues. And what was notable about that, he had his own JL model, which at the time was one of the top models in the South Bay. And he introduced, for you old timers, the old tunnel fin. It looked like a wishbone, basically, that actually worked pretty well, but it was stiff. It had about a 3 or 4 year life cycle, and then the shortboard started to come in. But again, that was John's innovations. From there, he progressed to Rick Surfboards as a shop manager. Now Rick is a charter member of the inductee in the Hall of Fame here in the first year in 2003. Rick was going along unbelievably, and unfortunately, Rick passed away too early in his life, and so he left, and along with John, along with Dave Hollander, Steve Mangeli, and Phil Becker started Becker Surfboards, where John began his real career for 40 years right up the street here at Becker Surfboards. He was instrumental in the growth of that from this local shop here to several shops up and down the coast. John, as I mentioned earlier, has sold literally over 40,000 boards. But more importantly, pretty much everyone in the South Bay has come in contact with him has either been mentored by him or helped in some way with some problems they've had or with board design and instruction. And in 2012, John did a surf video where he acted, directed, and assisted in the production of Learn to Surf with Joe, and it was a beginning surf video that is still available in the surf shops today. It's something, if you've got kids coming up, it's something to take a look at and purchase for them. It'd be great for your library. John, about 3 or 4 years ago, decided to retire, but before he retired, he did something that was unique in the local industry here. He got one of the major brands in the industry to purchase Becker Surfboards, Billabong. Billabong has now owned Becker Surfboards, and I hate to say it, but since John's left, it's not the same. You go in there, you look for John, and he's not there. But it's my pleasure to bring up on stage a dear friend of mine, someone that I've grown to love and his friendship for almost 60 years. Not as long as Sonny and Chip, but it's still a very long time. John Leninger. High school classmate.
Well, that's a tough act to follow. I'm deeply honored to be inducted into this Walk of Fame. It's overwhelming. It's I don't even know what to say here. But Hermosa Beach, I want to say that Hermosa Beach is the original surf city. That's been said numerous times during the day, but most people don't even know why. Hermosa Beach housed major manufacturers here. We had Grangle at the top of the hill here, and this is the early 60s. Grangle at the top of the hill here. We had Jacobs at 422 Coast Highway. We had Rick Surfboards at 845 Coast Highway. Bing was at 1820 Coast Highway. 4 major manufacturers at that time. Boards were produced out of this 1 square mile any place in the world in the early 60s, bar none. And there are other manufacturers. You had Hobie down south, and this was the epicenter for surfboard manufacturing. During this time, surf shops didn't, all they carried were surfboards. There were no leashes, no wetsuits, no wax, just straight surfboards. So people nobody ever thought that the surfboard business would ever get the way it is now. But the surfboard is still still the cornerstone of the surfboard business. Very few things in this day and age where things are mass-produced, can you go and get a board specifically made for you, handmade, start to finish. You give them the specs, you tell them what color you want on it, how many fins you want on it, what type of tail you want, and a fairly reasonable price. But in this day and age, like I say, mass production, that's pretty rare, and it's at a fairly reasonable price considering. Over the years, in fact, just to go on from here, many people will go get a board shaped. They'll go down to the factory and be right there when they shape the board, or talk to the shaper and tell them how they want it. But the shaper has always been held up in high esteem in the surfboard business. But the unsung heroes in the business are the glassers, the glossers, the glossaboards, the polishers that go to make the board what it is. It's actually a piece of art, and they just don't get enough recognition.
Yeah, Fred.
In the little over 50 years that I've been doing this, numerous times throughout my career, people would come and say, when are you going to get a real job? Well, I tried that and didn't like it. It's been said someone said at one time, said, if you really love what you do, you never have to go to work. Well, I had a job, but I never had to go to work. I loved every minute of it. I was one of those lucky people that just had a passion for what they did. The surf shop has always been a meeting place where you got information. At one time, where you found out about South Swell. Early on, there was not any information in magazines. There was no internet. So what places broke on South Swells, what place broke on North Swells. All this was done by word of mouth. And at a meeting place at the surfboard shop, that's where you find out about some of this stuff. Well, early on, when I was first at the beginning of surfing, we took off and went and took a surf trip before there was a freeway. Took a surf trip down to Trestles. Well, I went and got down to Trestles. It was flat. We turned around and drove up to Rincon. and at the time, we didn't know that Trestles was the South Swell spot and Rincon was the North Swell spot. So, like I say, at the surf shops is where you find out about a lot of this information, and also a place where you can share maybe the surf session you had for that day, or find out where you get people coming to the shop where they travel to these faraway islands that maybe people haven't even heard about, and then their waves existed, and no one even knows about it, but they'll share that with you, and we can share it with other people. I've been fortunate and honored to have worked with and worked for some of the most incredible people in the surf business, and had customers come in over the years and become lifelong friends. And I've just been so fortunate, and nothing's more pleasing than having someone come in and order a surfboard, wait their 3 weeks, maybe a month to get the board, and comes in and see the look in their eye, the fire, they just can't wait to use it the next day. And I can't wait to hear about the feedback when they come in a day or two later and tell me how it works. But that's the big part of the job that just made it so special and something you truly love. Also, as a side note that people haven't mentioned today, a lot of people may not know this, but a couple weeks ago, surfing was entered into the Olympics in Tokyo in 2020. So this is going to be a real. It's taken all these years from the Gidget, the modern era when Gidget was produced in '59 to now to make this into an Olympic sport. So it's really. And I think the skateboard thing is going to be a part of the Olympic sport also. Is that right, Brian? Yeah. So that it's really just a landmark thing going on right now. Finally, I'd like to thank Scott Kerwin for nominating me and doing all the write-up that it took to put me here, and the belief that I belong here. He spent a lot of time doing all the research and what it took to get here. And lastly, I'd like to thank my wife for all the time she spent supporting me. Thanks for everybody for coming. Thank you.
Before we present John's plaque, the mayor has a couple words to say.
So John, again, it's an honor to present you with this award. John is a Hermosa Beach native, a significant figure in the sport of surfing in the South Bay. John is a longtime surfer, surfboard designer, and surf shop manager, surf team organizer, and a mentor to a new generation of surfers. John's love for the sport led him to a lifelong career in the industry spanning over 50 years. John began his career in 1962 as a surf shop manager for Skag Surfboards. John went on to the South Bay Surf Shop, where he sold his signature surfboard known as the JL Shape that accounted for 80% of the store's sales in 1965. John was also employed at notable South Bay surf shops such as Brick Surfboards and Becker Surfboards. He has sold more than 40,000 surfboards throughout his career due to his personable professionalism and the fact that he has the knowledge and expertise to advise the novice and the experienced surfer. Sean has spent many years supporting the sport he loves, and as he mentioned, for him it wasn't a job, it's something he enjoyed every day. So congratulations.
Mr. Mayor.
All right. Very briefly, I just wanted to welcome everybody here in Hermosa Beach and spending this incredible event in Hermosa Beach. It's a beautiful day today. Those of us that live here feel blessed that we live here every day. Those of you that used to live here, thank you for coming back to visit us today, and feel free to come back and enjoy weekends in Hermosa Beach on a regular basis. I wanted to acknowledge a few people for putting this together and helping us celebrate today. I wanted to acknowledge Yanni Lang and JJ for putting this together. I also wanted to thank Dennis Jarvis, Nikki O'Reilly with a spider. Also, great recognition of the Historical Society. They put together an event yesterday that was amazing for the meet and greet, and I really appreciate all the effort that they do in promoting this tradition. So Historical Society, Hermosa Beach, thank you. From the city of Hermosa Beach, I have done nothing to put this together except show up here today. But we have incredible staff that's been working on this for months, so I wanted to thank them and recognize a couple of them that are back. Lisa Nichols and Cambria Vint for putting together this for the last few months. Thank you. And I also want to thank and recognize former mayor of Hermosa Beach that was here presenting these plaques for this event the prior years. Pete Tucker is here. Thank you, Pete. And with that, again, thank you for coming to Hermosa Beach. Again, incredible congratulations to Ted Robinson, Chip Post, Kelly Gibson, and John Leninger. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to bring Yanni Lang up to close. And again, all inductees, please meet at the Tim Kelly statue as soon as we're done.
Thank you, guys. Hey, I just want to make this quick. Love you, love Hermosa Beach. We have t-shirts for sale over by the booth. They were designed by Phil Roberts, world famous surf artist, so get one while they're hot. And at the end of the day, make sure you nominate people who you feel should be here next year. And also remember, give a Grom a wave, because you know what? One day they'll be up here. Thank you, guys.